Velasco. Out to Ferreira, making the run hard down the side. So that's Franco Jara, who's all the way out there. Jara for Ferreira, finds Arriola! And he roofs it to tie the game. Dallas player to do so since Jeff Cunningham in 2009.
Franco Jara here coming in.
Alan Velasco. We'll give back to him. Back here.
We're live here. Let's go ahead and take that off. A little bit different setup on this evening. We've had to wrangle some technology in different directions, and hopefully our buddy Tommy will be joining us here in a little bit. But welcome to Big D After Dark, everybody. Doing the live show here. I'm on the other side of the planet, out of the country at the moment, so sort of had to figure out a new way to do the show here. But hey, thanks to the power of Restream, we are here connected. So there won't be quite as many features that we like to have, like clips from press conferences and things yet. But maybe that'll come next week as we get more familiar with this mobile setup. But I'm your host, Nathan Hill, at Nathan J. Hill, and with me right now is Jose Carmona.
Hello, everybody.
At El Chico Carmona on Twitter. Tommy hopefully will be joining us here in a few minutes. We're coming at you a little bit earlier because of the time difference and stuff, so and schedules and life and stuff. But of course, we'll take the audio and make sure that that's available on our podcast. And by the way, one of the things I did get to do last week was interview Ima Tumasi. FC Dallas is starting right back. Have an exclusive interview with him. It's available on YouTube and also as an exclusive bonus pod on our Big D After Dark podcast. Wherever you get podcasts, you can find it, listen to a quick 15-minute conversation, and especially interesting to find out a little nugget there from him about his relationship with Mikey Barrios, and how Ima doesn't speak Spanish, but he and Mikey had a great relationship, close friends, and relied on Google Translate a lot, but hung out a lot. So really cool little nuggets about life within FC Dallas team. So please listen into that, subscribe, and of course, enjoy the show. We got plenty to get to tonight. We're going to hit three main topics. FC Dallas loss at home against Vancouver, North Texas SC loss at Vancouver Whitecaps 2, and finally, we're going to talk a little bit of United States men's national team and Jesus Ferreira's particular performances and time with the squad. And of course, you can send in your comments and questions. They should show up here on the display, and we'll get to them and shape the conversation that way. But it's good to have you all here with us. Let's just start with FC Dallas. And have a good time here this evening. Disappointing result at home. Not the way we wanted this game to go coming off of a break. I didn't look back. Did Vancouver play? Did they have some games during the break?
They did. They played that Tuesday. They got beat by Seattle, but they came out, like a team who had actually had a game under their belt, and that was more than enough to catch Dallas sleeping and put one over them right away.
Yeah, it's one of those results, which for me, as I look back at how the game unfolded, Vancouver got that early goal, and then they were able to just lock things down. They were just able to dictate the play, put all those guys in the box, sort of, really low block. And FC Dallas has always struggled, as most teams struggle to break down.
Yeah, and they basically got that goal so early that they were able to just sit back, relax. They played exactly like they played the first game and said, hey, that worked against Dallas. It'll work again. And, yeah, I mean, the team really missed Matt Hedges out there. Matt Hedges, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have allowed that first goal or that second goal, but you could just tell that back line was struggling. And then Martinez going down later in the second half didn't help any. But yeah, you think if Hedges was out there, we could have at least been only down 1-0 for the majority of the match. But it is what it is, man.
Well, and it I was really hopeful that the break would have given a chance for Dallas to work on some of those attacking movements in the final third and to sort of just come up with some fresh ideas of things. But I don't think that really flashed a lot. Just it looked like a team, trying to break down a stingy defense. In Vancouver, there was a question mark whether their coach would, turn things around if he was a flash in the pan from last season. But I think you got to say that he's a decent coach. He's a good coach. He's getting things out of this team, and they're going to steal a lot of points from teams if folks aren't careful. And so, disappointing result. Also, for some reason, FC Dallas has a terrible record against Vancouver.
It happens every couple of years. Some team has our number, and I don't want people to get too down on this match. I mean, Vancouver appears to have FC Dallas' number at the moment. And, I just want to point out that on defense, Vancouver was really good at anticipating the passing lanes. They were basically able to trip up any passing attempt that Dallas tried, any through balls. They were really good at it. And, Dallas still got off 16 shots. It's just their shooting shoes were off, really. They did have some looks and they did try some shots from a distance, but they were nowhere near on target. They were basically, if you might as well have had the what's his name, Brian from last year, Acosta,
yeah.
and had him take all 16 shots because that's exactly what they look like.
Yeah.
The majority of them.
Right. Yeah, like, you're lining up a team if even if against a good team, if you mostly give them those outside shots, those kind of long blasts and stuff, you take that because those are just low percentage shots, and it's just hard. It's hard to break down. I mean, it seemed like Paxton had a good game. He was active.
He did. He got that really nasty black eye that he got, which was just ridiculous, by the way. He basically got elbowed and called for the foul. I'm not saying he didn't get a foul. He didn't deserve to get a foul, but he gets elbowed on the eye. I mean, blood was drawn. No foul called on the other guy. And then this actually happened on the other side later in the match where one of our players did a similar foul and our player got the yellow card. So it's just, I don't know, that coaching. I mean that I don't want to blame my refs. Dallas deserved to lose, but it was very frustrating watching those refs out there also on top. So they weren't helping any matters. So Dallas wasn't helping themselves, and the refs weren't helping them either. It was really frustrating. You could tell the players were frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes how you start a game makes a lot of difference, and it just seemed they came out flat. It was a wake up call for them. They're gonna have to.
They played better in the second half, yes.
And it's one of those questions where you appreciate a few weeks off to let guys rest. You talk about it in a positive way, but there's a loss too, in that you lose some rhythm. You lose maybe you just relax a little bit during those couple of weeks off. And if you pay a price when you come out a little bit flat, and the other team is just coming off a loss, and they know that they want to rebound and do something different, yeah.
It's just basically, Vancouver came out. They came out hot. They played well, and then basically they just coasted the rest of the way and watched Dallas. Basically, by the time Dallas woke up and got into the game, it was over. It was too late. They just didn't have any answers for what Vancouver was doing. And I'm sorry, you were talking about Paxton having a good game earlier, and before I veered off, but he did have a good game. I mean, he was really trying, but it just, as the team as a whole, they looked disjointed. The back line really struggled out there, and it didn't help that our Farfan and Tuamasi also didn't have the best of games to boot. And so I wonder if that has to do more with communication or whatnot, because the entire back line as a whole had a bad game. I thought the kid that came in, Quinones, I mean, he looked solid in the short time that he came in, but it was not only did the backline suffer, but then at the end it was kind of hard to see them go to a sort of makeshift backline. They had Obrian come in, and playing he was playing like a fullback, like a
Mhm.
not even a winger. I mean, he was playing like a fullback back there, and it just it was just hard to
Mm.
watch. I mean,
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's something to learn from it. I guess the big question then coming into they got a week ahead, a full week, is the status of Martinez, the status of Hedges, because that could bode a lot of different directions as FC Dallas prepares to go down to Austin and play a must-win game. I think you got to win. You got to get a result against Austin. It's one of the new rivalries
well,
we've got, and
and let's
but
let's remember with Hedges and Martinez suffering injuries that this is what led to the downfall last season. Our backline basically, you know, we had uh, what's his face, Brazilian kid,
yeah,
um,
Bresson.
Bresson. He was basically, depending on how you view it, either him or Tomas or not Tomasi, Tafari. One of them was the fourth back. The guy was the third back, and they both played over 20 matches last season, both of them. So regardless of who you think the fourth back is, I mean that's why they drafted Bartlett, you know, because what happens if Martinez and Hitches go down again this year? And that's why the team gambled on Bartlett, which a gamble that was looking pretty bad. And now you see Quinones come in, and is Quinones the new Tafare?
Hmm.
He's he's gonna come in, and suddenly he's currently your fourth center back, and he could be in line for a ton of games. If I mean, we hope both Martinez and Hedges come back, but you got a feeling
Yeah,
that we're gonna have one healthy and the other one not healthy, and it may be like a seesaw. And so Tafare suddenly finds himself playing a lot of games again, and Quinones finds himself getting a crap ton of minutes. And so,
let's see. Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't want those
so
shades of last season. Yeah.
space of last season, I want to say that I think our attack is better this year. So I'm more hopeful that the team can you know, weather the storm, but they can't allow early goals like they did against Vancouver. That's the one thing. If our backline is strong, it's the one thing you can't allow is such a quick early goal by the opponent that they can then sit back and watch you struggle, and keep
Yeah.
you in front without you know taking any chances. And that's basically what Vancouver did. Is Vancouver's like, we got this, we got the goal we wanted. We're gonna sit back, dare them to find a hole in defense, and they're gonna trip up, and sooner or later we'll either get a counter, or we'll just when we'll get a set piece, and team short over there. Uh, and I don't know if you saw the video of the set piece goal, and I think everyone just watching Velasco not even attempt to jump, and the ball going right over top of him. It's just sickened by it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was hoping that he was going to have a real boost, a real jump, um, with his family being here, coming to the States and maybe getting comfortable. But hey, it just shows he's a young player, and in Major League Soccer,
I
maybe he isn't asked to do that, but in MLS, he's going to have to contribute in all phases of the game,
I we can blame him for that, but for not jumping and whatnot. But at the same time, he wasn't brought in to be on the wall. He wasn't brought
True.
in to be a defender, and I can't believe he was one of the three guys on the wall. I mean, I
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to blame whoever decided he should be on there as opposed to him. It's like he looked like a guy who didn't want to be on that wall.
Hey,
And
Tommy's here. Let's bring him in. All
Hey
right, good. Hey,
guys.
Tommy. Let's say
Tommy, welcome back. And Tommy, I've been reading his tweets and stuff, and Tommy is back in full force, my man. We're just talking about Velasco and the wall, and him not jumping, and me blaming me blaming whoever decided to put him there as the guilty party, because Velasco doesn't belong on that wall. He didn't look like he wanted to
Right.
be on that wall. He didn't make an effort on that wall, and it's someone else should have been there. Hopefully, we don't see him on the wall again.
Yeah,
I don't
I
want.
agree with you. Yeah, but I got to go back and look at the film, and I tried to do that. I got to 2 minutes in, I'm like, you know what, I can't watch this. And
It was.
I,
You're
but
a braver man than me.
well, Vancouver had a lot of people in the box, and I don't know if it would have been. This is the problem with FC Dallas, and it's been noted on other podcasts as well. Third Degree has noted that FC Dallas is short. They're short no matter what, right? So, if you put him covering a man that's in the box, I mean, is it better to have him covering a man in the box or have him in the wall? At least he's got to jump, right? I mean, it wasn't very Nico-like. It was very unfundamental, not just Velasco, but other things, and it was just very
It
hard to
was. It
watch.
was the whole team. Like I said, I don't think
The
you can
whole
blame it
team.
on. You can't blame it on one guy. Yes, the effort there was in the second half, but by the second half, Vancouver was up 2-0 and didn't have to do anything. They just had to sit
Hmm.
back.
Well, you
So
got the first goal in 2 minutes. They didn't have to do anything after that, but sit back, and that's what they do. That's their specialty. It's not scoring goals, just playing defense. And I mean, yeah,
yeah, and Darren
Yeah.
basically daring you to find a way to beat them, and then they're counting on you to make a mistake, and they can sneak in, and they did it, and they did it not once, they did it twice, and some of the decision making, like I said, as a whole, the whole team as a whole looked bad. I mean, I think Paxton is maybe the one guy I can think of that looked good. I thought Hara looked good, but he did flub the chances he did get, and he did get a couple. So
yeah,
honestly, like I said, they're some of those shots. They did have some really good open shots from a distance, and they placed them nowhere near where they could threaten the goalkeeper, and that was something they needed to do. They needed to make at least threaten the keeper so that the defense could then focus on those guys and maybe extend itself out a little, and they just couldn't do it. 16
yeah.
shots,
It
one on
was very
goal.
very un-Nico like compared to what we saw at the beginning of the year. Just a lot of in the first 2 minutes. I went down and broke down that play, and Tafari came out of his position to play the man, and the ball came in the air, and he just stood there holding the guy's shoulder and didn't jump up like Hedges would normally do and win that ball. The ball heads over to another guy, and he makes one pass, and then we realize Martinez is really a liability in pace. I mean, he had no chance of catching that guy, and then you add Faku. I can never say his name right. The Q guy running.
Faku's good enough.
He was just watching the play, and he's watching the pass to Martinez, and all of a sudden he looks, and the guy that he's supposed to be covering is tailing it to the goal, and I got to run. So he's behind the play, he's running late,
Yeah,
and the same thing happened with the second goal. Fakuna
yeah.
is just watching the game, and then he's got a foul because he's
His
late, and
his reaction time, and but really, I think that was like you point out, Tafari, his reaction time was off. So was Martinez. So was Faku. It was and Farfan didn't. I didn't think he looked good. I don't think Tomas looked good. And I think, like I said, everybody's timing was off, and Vancouver just appeared to be a step faster. And I know we remember Faku having, I mean, basically busting China recover and making a bad tackle, but he wasn't the only one. This is something that almost everybody found themselves getting beat on pace on, and honestly, it was just like, man, how are you guys? You guys are playing this matador defense, like, oh, I'm gonna give you a head start. Go on, shoot past me, and then I'll attack you. But it was tough. They
yeah, I
made
mean
some nice recoveries, but it wasn't enough.
you took away those bad plays, and you still didn't have the Nico ball that we saw. Just the getting players in the box, making a lot of passes. It kind of looked like, I don't know, maybe, and it's hard to say, but being that Areola and Ferrara went to USA camp, maybe they were slightly a little big headed coming back, and
Well, they
you
might have
know,
just, I don't know what was wrong with him, but I do want to point out that Ferreira actually had several defensive clearances where he's basically out there where Tomasi should have been on
right,
on the winger. There was several times where it was
right,
Ferreira out on the wing playing defense, basically having to force a ball, fend off a player from getting to the ball, or I mean, it was like, what is going on? Why is Ferreira basically, playing defense that deep? It was just,
Mhm.
it was, that's how bad. I'm not saying that Ferreira, I'm complimenting Ferreira, but I'm saying that he was basically picking up the slack of some of our defenders because
Well, and yeah.
your nine is out there bailing you out on defense.
And then at the end of the game, he was on the wing throwing passes into O'Brien. I was like,
Mhm. Well,
what's
the
wrong
pace,
here?
the pace. They were O'Brien came in with the energy, and they were hoping that they could get some over, but with the fresh legs. But honestly, like I said earlier, Vancouver was really good at anticipating those through passes and those passing lanes the whole game. They just, and it's a combination of that and a combination that the fact that some of those passes were just plain bad. The accuracy, not just on the shots. Dallas was having trouble getting accuracy on their passes, and Vancouver was just, basically sometimes they didn't really have to work too hard to figure out where those passes were going because the trajectory was just off anyway. So it was a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember before the international break, we were singing the praises of Quignon, and he comes out with a
We
stinker
were.
like
I
this. So,
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Right.
and but I'm just saying this looks like a team that hasn't played in 3 weeks. And Vancouver, they got stomped. I think they got beat 4-0 on Tuesday. But they came out like a team that actually you know, had a game plan and had actually played together, at least once before. I'm not gonna panic. I'm gonna hope that it's just we saw this last year after the international break, same thing. So I'm trying not to panic, and we'll see. I expect a massive improvement this next week, whether at home or on the road. I don't care where. I guarantee you this team will be motivated to play better, play faster. The big issue is, do we have a makeshift backline? Do we have
Yeah.
no Martinez, no uh no captain, no Martinez, and no Matt Hedges, and
mhm.
now we have Tafari and Quignon, and I mean Quinones. And the question is, if Martinez is out and if Hedges is out and
Mhm.
Quinones and Tafari are your starting center back duo, who's the guy behind them? Who is going to be the third back behind them?
And
Is it
is
going to be
Bartlett
Bartlett?
still out? I guess.
I think.
Did
Well,
did
Yeah.
yeah.
well,
I
yeah.
was just
That's
thinking the
gonna
last show that we had, we were asking what the biggest need was, and if I recall correctly, it was another striker. We didn't even touch on cornerback, center back, but
center back.
center back is definitely, I think, the biggest need right now for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's a
mean,
big question.
but do you really need to carry five center backs? I mean, it,
Well, I'm not a big fan of the pace of Martinez. He's played well, but if he can't, he doesn't
he's
have
a
the pace.
solid.
It's kind of like when we played Galaxy, right? The Galaxy was slow. We got behind him. It was kind of the same thing, but on us. And if Tafari's not going to stay back, I think Tafari can't go up. He's got to stay back, And
Martinez speed is only a liability when Matt Hedges
he's
isn't back there. When
exactly.
Hedges Matt Hedges covers for a lot of the weaknesses of our backline, you know. And
Correct.
y-
And to my point is that if Tafari wouldn't have went up and stayed back in his spot,
but
we
you can do
wouldn't
that
have
with a
had.
young center back. With a young center
Yeah.
back, you can lure them. You can basically, you can say, hey, let's trick this kid. Hedges is going to be more professional. He's going to be, you know, he's going to have that experience not to get lured into a bad position. Tafari, we saw this last year. I mean, as great as we thought he played, we weren't wowed by the fact that he was Matt Hedges. Like, we're wowed at the fact that he had excellent recovery. He had excellent hustle.
His
But
defense
a
was
lot of
good.
time, but a lot of that defense was because he was making mistakes and he was recovering them. That can only bail you out so much. When the
Right.
guy next to you is Martinez and not Matt Hedges, you see the difference. You see the difference in speed. You see the it's going to be something we need to be worried about if both of those guys are out. You know,
Yeah.
more so Hedges than Martinez.
So we had a couple of breakdowns, but it doesn't excuse like not getting shots on goal and not getting the ball. I mean, Ariola and Jesus just kind of disappeared. And look, I mean, Velasco he's still a kid. I'm not giving up on him yet. He's not having a great year with us. He's definitely talented. And but this is like another game in a row. He got a yellow card for something silly. Talking to the referee.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's still got some growing up to do, and he's got a ways to go to be a really top-notch player.
And the whole team was frustrated. It's just
Yep.
that
Yep.
you're seeing the younger guy doing it. By the way, I thought Quinones did look good, but the problem with Quinones is, even though he looked good, is that he's only 6 foot tall. He's on the smaller side for center back, and I guarantee you, if he is starting, while I'm fairly sure he can do a decent job, they will absolutely try to put their biggest guys on him and try to basically go over the top, because I don't know what kind of leaps he has. I don't know what kind of athleticism he has.
But we have Bartlett.
Yeah. Well.
You're a funny guy, Tommy. I think honestly, I just want to say, I think our third guy, if Tafari and Quinones are forced to start, I think our third guy is Farfan. I think Farfan, if it comes to it and one of those guys goes down, I think he slides in at center back, and we bring in Nanu to play left back.
Right.
That's my guess.
Well, hey guys, I'm gonna need to log off here. We've got some guests here. I'm in my in-laws' house. I'm on the other side of the planet, so unfortunately, we're gonna be dealing with some of these challenges. But good conversation. We didn't get quite to North Texas, but the story wasn't different. I mean, North Texas played pretty well, but they just didn't take their chances. They had some pretty juicy chances, and Vancouver Whitecaps too did. But some questions about the defense too in that game.
Yeah, it was, but it's their first road match that they lost, and it was bound to happen sooner or later. And Vancouver is really good at home, so and mind you, they're only 2 points behind North Texas, so not a bad team really. Not like Vancouver that beat FC Dallas.
Right.
Vancouver too is actually pretty good.
And one more thing, I don't know if you talked about it, but Dan Hunt got us a World Cup city.
Right.
So congrats to Dan Hunt. I mean, that's a major
Congratulations.
accomplishment. Yeah.
And Jesus had a pretty solid international break. I mean, 4 goals against Granada. Some people thought he should have scored 8, which is a little wishful thinking. But
on that, I'll just add that the people that were crying that Haji Wright got to start against El Salvador, were actually begging for him to get the start against El Salvador, saying we want Haji against El Salvador, and they were all happy about it. They were all begging for it, and then the mud pit happens, and they're like, "Well, why did you start Haji right against El Salvador?" The same people that were happy about it were suddenly not happy about it.
You can't judge a player by first 30 minutes. I mean, you got to give them time. It's all about checking out who can do what, and that's what these games are for.
Yeah, sure. Well, good. Well, we'll have more to talk about in the coming weeks, and hopefully next week we have a more positive spirit and some
I think we got
against Austin.
The team has been good all year, and there's just been we'll just give them a mulligan for this past week. And
Copa Tejas, let's get it done. Let's seal it early.
Right. All right. Well, thanks for joining us tonight, guys, and for the little bit different setup. But we'll see you next week, and subscribe to the podcast. We'll
Safe
make
travels.
sure the audio is uploaded. All right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. All right.
Okay,
Tommy.
bye bye.